And the first map seems like a standard Arabia. Yeah, right off the bat. Yet again going to play the standard map, and looking at the civilizations, we have Classic Pro as Mongol, Far as Hans, and Sticky Fingers as Mayans. And for CZs, Yannick is playing Hans, Skal is Mayan, and Liere is Mongol. So we have a proper mirror right off the bat. And the host of the room, that is Classic Pro, is right now scouting with his Scout Cavalry. He has already discovered the boar at the very bottom, so he will at least know where that is and where to go for it with the early hunters there. And he also sees quite decent placement of the gold mines overall, because obviously he's the pocket for his team, and having a wall of them quite close, which means that he will be having kinda easier time defending both the gold and also the stone here. The hunt on the left is of course going to help also with the extra stone here, but that's kinda close to his opponent as well, or rather opponent ally as well. So this might be some kind of mines that will be shared between him and his ally Sticky Fingers. Otherwise a bit of berries also, and where is actually the second boar? He has discovered just one so far, so let's put up the fog of war and see the second, which is where? Actually I don't see it anywhere. Has it already gone somewhere for him? No, I don't see it. Or is it being stolen? No, it isn't. So it seems like that he's okay, here it is. Yeah, sorry. I didn't actually see it at all at the very forefront here, but okay. Right now he knows, and I think he ran just around it. Yes, he definitely did. So he is pretty safe with absolutely everything. And looking at the map overall, it's not really all that hard for him actually to wall. It will be easy for him to put some walls here and here to potentially protect himself from the Radiant. So yep, that's going to be quite nice map for Classic Pro as the Mongols, and potentially will be free to go into the early Imperial Age for the Mangudais and whatnot. The next to have a look at is right now going to be Sticky Fingers, for example, on the left, who is quite blasted to the wall. It's usually not a very good sign, but looking how he also has the gold next to the wall here, that's going to be easily defensible for him. So in the end, it could actually work into his advantage right now, luring one of those boars in, the second one being very close to the TC itself. And otherwise, placement of the stone is also very sweet, and yeah, the second one not bad either. And overall, I really think that this map is not half bad overall for him either. I'm going to put off the fog of war to look at some extra mines potentially and whatnot. Wolf hidden in the trees there, not really much extra, but yeah. Kinda normal map, I don't really see any kind of screw-ups, and should be easily defensible for him yet again, with some nicely placed wall about here and potentially even here. So really, nice map overall. I'm going to be switching into the last one, that's going to be in Far for the Inf team, who is still on the ship here. So where are actually his boars? They were somewhere on the left, yeah, one of those is already being lured in. And where's the second one? Does he see it somewhere? Does he see it somewhere? So far, not much interesting, just the gold here. This is not safe at all, because obviously it's very close to the yellow opposing player, and the forefront gold is also not kinda ideal, because even though it might be easily defensible through at least a bit of wall in here, it's still quite close to his opponent and will be slightly problematic to defend, because I would be expecting that Skal will be very interested in the early aggression there. I'm still looking for the second boar, and I'm not seeing it, so that's maybe already dead? Yeah, looking at actually the carcass here, that's already dead, so yeah, I wouldn't be really finding it anywhere. So let's switch into opponents then. First will be, for example, the Skull, the yellow player right next to the grey one, who is already building barracks, so that's potential for some Drush. We'll be having to have a look at that quite soon. And Liere is actually advancing into Feudal Age right now, which is quite early with just 18 villagers. Was damn fast, and we'll be seeing some special strategies coming in from the CZ clan. The gold at the back is much better than what we have seen for the grey player, and otherwise do we see the stones somewhere safe? We see extra gold at the back, which is also nice. Stone, well, that's very much to the right of his base, it's going to be hard to defend, and I'm quite interested in some other mine for the stone here. Because usually you spawn with like second mine very close by, which is not the case, just the relic here. And is it maybe somewhere more to the right? Yeah, it is. It's very much to the right here, in the corner of the map, which is not ideal at all. And really, it's going to be quite hard for him to defend, as obviously this is, yeah, very much open part of the map, and really that's not going to be too possible to actually wall altogether, and quite big problems for this yellow player who is playing Mayan, so he will need all the stone that he can actually get. You already see the militia here coming in from the Mayan skull into the grey player, who is already trying to wall himself in with building barracks himself, so he will be potentially having easier time defending on the tree line together with the food as well, but still he will be having a bit of a problems potentially on the gold later on if he aims to go for that. So far that's not the case though, as he's advancing into feudal as well. I'm going to switch into far to actually have a look if he's going for the militias as well. So far he isn't as a Han, and he's also having a villager, if you have a look, who is not gathering. Well, that sucks. That definitely sucks. Right now he's at least moving. But let's have a look how's it looking with the yellow player. So far he's scouting basically around the base, trying to make sure that he actually sees what's happening somewhere, and he's closing in on the tree line. So in the meantime, before he actually gets there, let's have a look on the left where red player is going for a bit of a dash on the green player. Green player was the first one to actually advance and is switching into Scout Cavalry pretty soon, having a pretty decent army at this point. But let's go back to the right, where the Drash has finally found some raid to actually feed upon. So far these villages are forced to actually retreat, which is a pretty good sign for the yellow player and a very bad one for Far, as obviously his economy is going to be quite substantially disrupted. But can he do actually something extra? At this point, it seems to me that Grey is actually waiting for the correct moment to use his villages into the fight. Yeah, right now that is happening. And can they kill something extra here? Okay, one villager down. So that was well worth it for Yellow, I would have to say at this point, because he has forced a few villages off of the wood here. He's also causing some idols, because obviously he's not paying attention to his villages, because he's having to fight against those militias. And looking how they are quite well alive still. They could do quite a lot of extra damage just by themselves, so that seems like a pretty good job by Skull at this very beginning. Looking somewhere else, a bit of a raiding from the green player, as we have seen a bit earlier with his scouting cavalry, so that's a pretty good job on that, but he has to be careful, as obviously those guys are not really all that much strong in the very early game, and villagers should be able to get rid of them quite soon. But still, it's going to cost them some hit points and also a bit of gathering time. Where actually did the red player end up? Where did he end up? Oh, here he is. Not really seeing it on the minimap, unfortunately, but we have seen enough here, and it really does look like that Eagle Scout in here in the tree line. One dead villager from green, and otherwise this seems to be pretty much it. So only disruption of the economy, which is of course the goal of all this, but otherwise 3 guys still very much alive. Well, very much alive. One of them not, but 2 should be good enough to still pester these food willies. In the meantime, we have a bit of time to actually look a bit around. For example, onto the blue base. He's just now finishing, or rather advancing into the next stage, going for the stables as a Hans, which is understandable, and also for the blacksmith. So it's going to be just a quick jump into the castle age and for the knights. Yellow player right now is going to be facing a bit of an opposition by the grey player Far, who is already in as a Han into the feudal age and having scouts. So that's 1 for 1, and this basically means that the raiding is over, because obviously with some proper micro, Far will be able to get rid of all those units right off the bat. So far though, he's not doing a decently good job with those scouts, but right now he's trying to take an advantage of the hill, and it seems to be working quite nicely. And yep, Drash is over, and yellow will have to switch into something more standard like the archer wrench and the crossbowman coming into the game in the castle age. Advance into the castle is happening from both Yannick and Classic Pro, so that's both pockets. One is Han, second is Mongol, if I remember correctly, yes, and he's having one stable, and that's so far it. He's not really building anything, if I see things correctly. Yeah, you can see that all the militias from that are already dead. Not really killing anything extra. Just 3 dead bodies from the reds and 1 from the green. That was the villager that we have seen earlier, and we'll be seeing a bit of a raiding from the grey player right now on CZs. So that's the result of the Drash actually ending, and right now the momentum is switching for the Infs. So let's see if we can actually find something juicy here, and potentially these villages could be. But looking how Blue is actually very well aware of what is happening, he's already preparing defenses and won't be caught off guard by those players. I'm going to turn the chat off. And this is the, I hope, the correct one. Correct. Correct chat command, but yeah, we can already see the spearman here, so that shouldn't be any kind of problem for Blue overall. Yep, and Grey will be potentially hoping that he can actually find something on the in the green's base, which he might be, but looking how actually Blue potentially told him what is going to happen pretty soon. He's right now preparing with the palisades himself, and yep, Grey won't be finding anything anytime soon. It was a bit of a flare from the Grey player, if I saw this correctly. And Blue is actually giving up on the walls here so that he has potentially more efficient gold gathering, as he is the Han and he will be wanting to actually go for a lot of knights right about now. Going for second town center right next to the gold. Potentially could have been slightly closer, but he probably wants to make some kind of defense between those two town centers to protect this echo slightly more. And will we see some raiding pretty soon? Yes, we will, because already knights are coming in and in pretty great numbers. So let's see if Rat will be ready for that. He seems to be quite nicely housed, or rather housed, walled up, but I'm really worried about the fact that he basically has no room to build his base there. He can make some extra TCs or whatever, but literally nothing else. He would be forced quite soon into some kind of expansion of his base, and he will be quite vulnerable at that point. Skull was under some kind of raiding from, I would be guessing, some scout cavalry, but looking how he's also pretty nicely walled, but having a lot more space than his opponent. Right now going for extra TC, I would guess. Yeah, extra TC. So that's 3 TCs mine for him, and he's also having quite a decent amount of crossbowmen from those two archery ranges, so I'm expecting a bit of raiding from him pretty soon. Yeah, just now coming through, and we'll be quite interested in raining fire and arrows on his grey opponent yet again. Is he going to be helped, the grey ally, by his purple teammate? It doesn't seem so. He was going there because he was potentially expecting some kind of raiding, but so far that's not happening. And yellow is right on, and yep, you can see that purple is actually forced to retreat and defend against that, quite obviously, because otherwise that wouldn't really go all that well. Come on, a bit more hill advantage would be nice. One knight down. There's some proper micro battles right here, and you can see that the early knights are not really good enough if they're not in high numbers, so pretty good job by Skull, but he is still going to need some extra army from his home base. Looking somewhere else, you can see a bit of raiding, well, but quite a lot of raiding from Yannick actually, who is right now trying to get at the gold gathering of the Mongolian player. And once he does get there, there's going to be a lot of problems for Classic Pro, because obviously he needs all the gold that he can get, and even though he does have the second one very nicely protected by the TC, this is still going to be a problem, as if he wants to advance into the next age sometime soon, that's Imperial. Yeah, that's not happening at all. This is not really going to help him with the economy, with those 3 villages basically not gathering at all. He is also switching into camels at this point into defense, which is reasonably a good idea, of course. And we'll be looking somewhere else, back to the right side, where actually yellow is doing quite a good job. He has killed basically all the army from both purple and grey, especially right now with purple being under attack himself. He doesn't have any kind of army to spare, and this might be potentially a pretty good time for yellow to kill some villagers, and he seems to be aiming for the stone line. Let's see if he's going right on the target. Yes, he is. Okay, goodbye, Willis. Good salves, and he's right now moving onto the right side, where fortunately for Far, he's finishing his TC, but still this is going to result in a pretty bad situation. I was kind of thinking that yellow can even go behind the tree line and have a line of sight. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, he can definitely shoot there with those 7 range. Definitely can get there right off the bat. It's going to be a bit of a problem for Grey, who is switching into cavalry archers, as you can see, which is a pretty decent idea, as that will allow him some proper raiding, but at the same time he has to be super careful, because obviously those crossbowmen are growing in numbers, some serious numbers, and that's why he's switching into Siege Workshop and potentially Mangonels. Moving back to the purple base, where he's being quite heavily raided by right now also the green player Liere. So that seems like a pretty decent bubble on purple, and it's not like purple can actually defend against that but just by himself. He's choosing the correct strategy by the monks, which is obviously a pretty good idea against knights, but looking at these crossbowmen here, that's not going to be as easy. That's not going to be as easy if they cooperate properly. Right now though he has to be careful. Doesn't definitely want to get some of those knights converted. Oh, it just happened. But still, with those crossbowmen here, he can potentially let Liere kill off those monks and then take care of the rest with the knights here. And it seems like that yellow is actually joining in, and it's almost like a full triple on the purple player. So not really good times for him, and so that we aren't actually confused, or rather focused on just this one attack, we'll be switching into the gameplays pretty soon, because Sticky Fingers is attempting a bit of raiding. So that's an interesting attack right here, but not really sophisticated or coordinated enough. And here we see that Sticky Fingers is already having a decent amount of plumed archers and trying to raid Liere. So Liere is going to be having a bit of a trouble. But looking at the hill, very nicely placed next to the TC, this is going to be very easy for him to defend both the gold and also the food willies. With blue also getting into the base here to defend and whatnot, this probably means that Sticky Fingers will be forced to retreat, as he is also under some pretty heavy attack, or heavy attack, some kind of attack from those blue guys, and once they get through this house, that's going to be a huge attack on this stone mine, and also the very nice tree line. So 3 TCs and a castle for the red player, who is already switching out of his base, or rather moving out of his base to the right. So that's something that we have actually thought about. And oh well, bit of a wolf train here. Not exactly sure if it's intentional, but this is definitely going to help if he can put those wolfies exactly up to their job inside the base here. Yeah, right now this is going to be a pretty heavy raiding, and even though Sticky Fingers is returning with all his army, which is pretty decent at this point, this is still going to be quite heavy losses for his economy. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 dead bodies at least, so that's pretty much well worth it for blue, and very decent job overall with the raiding here. But this is pretty much going to be it, I'm afraid, for blue player, because obviously with the army of red coming back, oh well, yeah, scratch that. Because reinforcements are coming in from the back, and it's a pretty huge surprise for Sticky Fingers, who wasn't counting with that at all. He's pretty heavily surprised with this, and yep. And even though he's finding quite nice choke point between this stone mine and the mining camp, is probably not going to be enough if he plays this correctly. But looking how he's not really microing all that much Yannick at this point. He's probably going to lose a lot of units, but also he's going to do a lot of damage to his opponent, which is at this point well worth it. Looking at Sticky Fingers, he's at 53 villagers. That's a pretty huge drop, and far at 44 with Classic Pro at 73. This means that they are quite far behind their opponents' CZ count at this point. Well, it seems like that Liere was actually all too keen to get into the battle, and has right now lost all his crossbowmen, because obviously that was a pretty bad battle for him, but we should be looking somewhere else. And that's, for example, what yellow is doing near grey. He's right now built a very crucial castle on top of this hill that is overseeing this gold, which is definitely going to help him quite a lot, and he's switching into Imperial Age. That's first thing. For ballistics as well, and also into the plumed archers, so we will be seeing potentially second castles pretty soon. Continuing with some wall in here so that he is as safe as possible, and also being raided by the grey player, but not much successfully, as you can see, as I see just a few dead units from both guys, and not really any kind of villages, skeletons. Yeah, it seems like that yellow did a pretty good job with the defense there. So this is just a brewing problem for the grey player, who is still having a bit of a cavalry archers in his base with the mangonel, but like right now trying to finish with the town center to defend the goal, as he will definitely need that, as the second goal is not safe at all and will be kinda hard for him to defend overall. Moving back to the middle, where purple is trying to defend right now against full-on Yannick. Seems like the Yannick will be basically having a 1v1 with him. I would have to favor at this point the blue player, but looking at those monks here, with some proper micro, he should be actually turning the battle around, but so far this is an engagement I'm not really all that happy about for a Classic Pro, because I really think that he shouldn't be taking such fights at this point when he is having slightly lower numbers than his opponent. You can see that he has, well, he has actually been slaughtered much harder than I actually thought at the very beginning. So definitely not something great for him, and we'll see if Sticky Fingers Imperial Age can actually be enough to turn this game around, because so far I'm really thinking that CZs are kinda owning, especially the middle here. And even though Purple is having quite nice echo with the three TCs and whatnot, yeah, right now he's going to suffer quite heavy losses, and you can already see all those dead villages, and he's dropping to 80 villages, which is quite few, especially compared to exactly Yannick, who is raiding him. That's 40 villages less. Well, that's like another game altogether, and yeah, you can see the heavy raiding still continuing, and Purple losing a ton of villages at this point. That's like, well, that really hurts. He has already lost like 20 villages in just this one huge raid from the blue player, and oh well, this is going to hurt quite a lot. And I'm not exactly sure what Purple can do against this. Now Yannick is also clicking into Imperial Age, which is also important as he will be switching into Cavaliers very soon. And then Paladins, I would be guessing also reasonably soon, as he's not really losing any kind of units here. And looking somewhere else, I don't really see all that much interest in from Liere, who is probably just saving resources for Imperial Age. But on the right side, it seems like that we are aiming into a big fight between those two players. Classic Pro right now is calling GG, but is it going to be called by his allies as well? Quite probably, yes. Sticky Fingers is right now resigning, so we won't really see the conclusion to this fight from Skull and the Grey player, because it seems like that, yep, Imps have actually recognized that the game is already over, and unfortunately we didn't see the full end. There were still a few minutes left for the battle here, because, yeah, the host of the room unfortunately quit the game a bit too early for us. But at any rate, players have already resigned, and this was basically going the expected direction, even though not that clearly, because I would say that Grey would be winning this battle. The other players are already out, and yeah, this was a pretty huge slaughter by the blue player on the purple one. Yep, so pretty well placed and pretty commanding experience, or rather performance from CZs, I have to say. So let's just have a look at the achievements with blue. MVP most definitely, because he was an absolutely beastly echo overall. And he really was playing quite well in the pocket there. Well, that's a lot of food. 5,000 more than his allies, or rather even your opponents. And a very fast castle age overall. 15 minutes, that's not half bad. Same as Classic Pro, but with a different amount of villages. Yeah, 127 and 91 for Classic Pro. That makes quite a ton of difference. Alright then, GG.